What's going on, guys? Seth and Chevy here, and we just watched Demon Slayer Season 2, and it was the Entertainment District arc after Mugen Train. Little two segments of one season. And I'm officially caught up on Demon Slayer, so that's good to know, because when they release the next season, I'll be ready for it. And also, we get to move into the next anime we're going to start watching, which I think we've agreed to do, Jujutsu Kaisen.
Yep.
Which I'm excited to see, because that's one of the most recommended ones I've been told when I asked a bunch of people on, everywhere. So a lot of people tell me to watch that. I'm really excited to start watching that, and I want to get that knocked out because I plan on watching Cyberpunk Edge Runners when that comes out.
Yep.
On Netflix, and then I also want to watch Chainsaw Man, which I'm really excited for, and the hype on that has been really crazy too, so I feel like it's going to be good, hopefully. So we got a long list of anime to still go through, on top of the ones that are coming out really soon. We got plenty to watch. Also, Berserk's series thing they're doing with the movies, I really want to see that as well. I think it comes out, I think you sent me a thing that said October in Japan.
Everything's in October.
Yeah, so hopefully I'll have access watching that as it comes out.
It'll be on Netflix. So
Netflix?
Yeah.
Okay.
Netflix, I think, has the rights to Berserk. So
Interesting. So yeah, we got a lot of things to watch this year. But let's talk about Demon Slayer. We just watched it. We finished it. Entertainment District arc, which was very interesting and full of surprises. But a quick recap. I'll keep it really simple because I feel like I put a lot of time into the recaps. And this was actually, outside of all the details of the characters, a pretty simple storyline. I guess Mugen Train was also a pretty simple storyline. But essentially, Tanjiro and Ko, the boys, join Hashira, Lord Tengen, Uzui Tengen, who is a flashy ninja, in essentially an investigation. He sent his 3 wives as agents, essentially, to investigate the Entertainment District to find a demon that has been lurking there, and they all went missing. So him and the boys go to the Entertainment District to do their own investigation to find out what happened to them, but also who this demon is. They concoct a really interesting plan to make all 3 of the boys, Inosuke, Zenitsu, and Tanjiro, they dress them up like girls, and they got a very, very interesting individual look to each one of them.
that's one way to put it.
I thought it was funny how everyone's talking about how Inosuke it's just working for him outside of he can't talk because they'll know exactly. But Zenitsu, everyone's just kind of looking at him like, making him sound like he's just like a really ugly
woman,
ugly girl. Yeah. Tanjiro, they're just like, we knew. We'll get into that though. They all do their own investigations in the different host houses, whatever they're called, while Tengen is doing his thing. And yeah, eventually Inosuke gets kind of a clue on something going on, which leads to inevitably finding out that I don't know what you would call her, but essentially the madame of this place, the person who's kind of running it, is a demon.
She's not the one. Well, she's technically running it, but
yeah,
she's the head. Oirin?
Yeah, that's the word.
The head girl.
Yeah.
So she's like the cash cow, basically.
Yeah, I was just thinking in my head that she's running it because she's behind the scenes running everything.
Definitely running it.
Yeah, exactly. So, so that turns into a whole thing. Really, that's kind of where the story goes. Eventually, they end up combating her. Tanjiro for a while, just kind of on his own, and then Inosuke and Zenitsu and everybody, I guess, goes underground. And they find out that a lot of the victims who have been disappearing are being absorbed into this girl's kimono snake ribbon outfit / ability that she has, which is really interesting, especially because whenever they try and slice it, it turns into a ribbon, so it can kind of absorb the impact and not get cut, which is a huge factor of a lot of the fights that happen in this season. a lot of the fight between Tanjiro and I think her name's Daki. I was telling you before we start filming, but I just keep remembering Ume because that was that's the most fresh name.
Yeah.
But that was her human form, and I think Daki is her demon name. But things get really interesting. We get a lot of the introspective things with Tanjiro talking about never giving up, always striving to win, blah blah blah. But the show's really good about always making sure that feels fresh and not tired as an idea, because that's definitely just his character, and they definitely make him earn it because they're always torturing the damn boy. In every season, it gets more and more intense.
Modern shonen's pretty okay with beating the shit out of their heroes. So
yeah, that's been a big surprise for the show so far for me. Is they're willing to kill people and they're willing to maim people, which we saw in this season. So yeah, he goes through a fight, and the thing, kind of going into my impressions already a little bit, that I really enjoyed about this fight is there's this cloudy area now where obviously there's Hashira, and they seem to be on different levels of power, but then there's the underlings, and Tanjiro and company are not at that level yet. But this season kind of illustrates that there's potential for them to become that, especially Tanjiro. That's mentioned towards the end of this season, and I think this season really drives that home a lot. That there's an untapped potential that I think he accessed in this season, and we saw a lot of that in him standing alone against Daki. Even further, so the fight gets really crazy. Eventually, oh no, Nezuko gets involved in the fight. We see a new version for me of her, where she goes ballistic and
she grows up,
and she turns into a woman.
Yeah.
You're telling me some people had some issues with her being womanly, which I mean is whatever. But
they're just not able to detach themselves from reality and look at the fantasy of the fact that she literally changes her age at whim. So
well, yeah, she turns into a little small-handed baby too.
So.
Which was a really interesting thing that I want to dive into further, because it's been kind of hinted throughout the show so far in the 2 seasons that Nezuko obviously is not just a demon, but a pretty powerful demon. And in this burst of her going ballistic, it almost feels like Tanjiro's walking around with a nuke in his backpack. There's a lot of untapped power there that is possibly not controllable, especially for anybody other than Tanjiro, and he can barely have any input on that. After an early insight to where things inevitably go, which seems to be apocalyptic, this season ends in a crazy way I was not expecting. At this point, buildings are already starting to get destroyed and stuff like that. A new player joins the fight after they've been fighting around with Daki for a while. She starts whining because she gets her head cut off. I thought it was really interesting how Ting just flies in and just easily is like, you're not the just demon.
Calls her out,
yeah, exactly. He's just like, what is this? Like, and we're revealed that I think his name's Gyutaro. Could have that wrong, but I swear that's his name, something like that. This dude shows up, and it's essentially her brother, but I don't remember completely how they're linked together to the point where he wasn't around, but he was. But they obviously have a very close connection, which I think is a really interesting parallel and mirror of Tanjiro and Nezuko as well.
If I'm not mistaken, because I don't know if they go clear into detail, and if you know, please clear it up below.
Yeah.
I believe she technically died before, and he when he turned into a demon, kind of like became one with her almost. I could be wrong on that, but they share out. Which
kind of makes sense, because there's this supernatural belief in Japan. I remember hearing about it when The Grudge came out years ago.
Okay.
That when people die in tragic ways, they merge with things that were with them at the time. And so, like, the little boy in The Grudge who meows like a cat and stuff, which was horrifying back then, that was kind of his thing, is he died in a tragic way with that cat, and their spirits merged. Okay. And so the idea of them merging kind of makes sense to me. But
yeah, it's the only thing
let us know in the comments if we're wrong on that.
I don't think they clarify, at least not in the anime.
Because let me tell you, from my perspective, first time viewing this, crazy shit already was happening.
Yeah.
I'm going like, Nezuko's insane. This is crazy. This chick's really fucking powerful. And then the whole fight with Tanjiro and Daki, I'm like, this is crazy. And then I'm like, where the hell's everybody at? Why are they just making him fight? Why has he got to try and control her? Like, this is a lot of shit. And then dude just shows up, and I'm just like, what's happening? There's a lot going on here. But as I'm watching Tanjiro fight this chick, which I'm loving, I'm like, there's no way she's the end boss, because he's able to fight her. And so it's revealed that we got this other guy, Gyutaro, who I think was a really interesting demon. And the perfect demon, conveniently, for Uzui Tengen to fight. I mean, because the fights we get from those two is just like, I thought it was already dope before, but now I'm just like, I don't know where they go with this, because this is like, I just made me really appreciate modern anime. I'm like, holy shit, you can do this, dude. Like, this is crazy. We'll get into that though. Yeah, Homeboy shows up though. He's got like little sickles that have poison in them, and his whole like, I'm ugly, my sister's beautiful, don't do anything to her, but she's a brat to him kind of dynamic's really interesting. He's got this like chaotic nature of like this like very nihilistic nature of just like having issues with people, not liking them, but being like self-deprecating to himself, while almost trying to like keep back like how enraged he is. Like there's a lot of layers to his personality that I really liked, way better than that sleep dude on Mugen Train.
Yeah, that dude straight up just
he's fine.
He was an ego.
He was fine. Yeah, he's fine, but he felt a little more cliche and just kind of like didn't offer much in terms of battle, but like the story and what he offered to it was pretty cool, especially with the dream stuff. But this dude, I was like, oh dude, this guy's like crazy. I like this. Especially when him and Uzui start fighting. It gets really interesting because they're both like agile, high speed ability fighters. You got like a ninja versus like kind of like a counter demon ninja. Like, it's kind of crazy. We see a lot of now that Uzui's, I don't know if I should call him Tengen or Uzui, because his wives call him Tengen and he's calling himself Uzui.
I think Tengen's probably good.
Lord Tengen. It's cool to finally see him tested, though, because he starts having to pull out a lot of his contraptions, a lot of his little bombs that explode, which is really neat because he's essentially just a super tall ninja,
dude's huge.
Who's super flashy. Although Sarah went through both seasons of Demon Slayer in like a day and a half, which was funny to watch, but which is cool that she watched it. But there's a part in season 1 where it shows all the Hashira together, and that like Buddhist type dude who's like crying all the time, he's like got 1.5 to 2 feet on Lord
He's
Tengen.
a monster.
Yeah, so I'm like that dude's tall. That guy's even taller.
Yeah.
There's also a part in this season where he hinted towards there's other people who are more powerful, and that guy was one of the 2 people he's looking at.
He kind of mentions him as if he's like a prodigy or something like that.
Yeah, so I'm like, really, one thing this show's doing that is really nice is like, in a lot of anime, you get like a character introduced and you kind of like look at them and you hear them. You're like, I get what kind of character you are. But in this show, when it first introduced all the Hashira, I kind of didn't like most of them.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, he's a dork. He's a dork. They all hate Nezuko, so I hate them. But like when they kind of revealed Rengoku's character and then his finale, I was like, dude, I love Rengoku. Like, that guy's awesome. And then with this guy, I'm like, so he's just like a flamboyant ninja? Like, okay, that's cool, whatever. And by the end of this, I was like, that guy's dope as shit.
Yeah.
So the show's really good at fleshing out characters and being surprising. They're never what I expect. I mean, Rengoku kind of was, but they just like really sold that archetype. But Tengen is there's more to him. And is more, even when things are dire, he's able to lighten things up with his like mentality of keeping things flashy and stuff, which was kind of nice and kind of needed, because after the fight ensues and things go crazy and everyone gets involved, you kind of need some of that lightheartedness, because they play around a couple times during this fight with some things that could potentially be dire. I was seeing some of the stuff happening towards the end of the fight when things get really crazy, And I was like, there's no way they're killing off characters. But they're like playing with these ideas. I'm like, that's crazy. So anyway, I think it's revealed that both the demons' heads have to come off, which is kind of crazy.
About the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this poses a whole new challenge because now there's two bosses and you have to kill them simultaneously. And one's really powerful and the other one is really good at essentially being a nuisance.
He can also see through her when he uses that ability.
Yeah, with the third eye thing.
And use her ribbons. So
yeah, he's like essentially just like remote controlling her like a computer, like just like, oh, let me take over your desktop for you.
Yeah.
But she still maintains her personality. Yeah, so a huge fight happens for like 3 episodes, and my brain was just melting.
I'll say the finale is like 4 episodes of fighting.
Yeah, this show has been impressive since the beginning when it comes to combat, and this outdid everything I saw before it. And I remember towards the end of the fight thinking, I was like, what do you do after this? And you verbally was like, you verbally were like where could this even go from here? And I'm like, exactly, dude, like this is crazy shit. So yeah, I'm not going to explain the whole fight to you, but essentially you got Zenitsu and Inosuke fighting Daki and trying to get her head off and keep her out of the mix, and then you got Tengen fighting with Gyutaro, and you got a lot of Tanjiro's trying to help, but he's also trying to take care of Nezuko. He's got his whole internal monologue happening.
He's also been fighting
the whole time,
long time.
So he's like 5 different times trying to like recover, and he just can't because the fight needs him to be a part of it. Some really amazing animation in terms of
understatement.
The combat, especially between Tengen and Gyutaro. It's like crazy. It was such a pleasure to watch. This is animation I would only expect from like a movie. It was really well done, super creative, and I was just like, this is insane. So this fight's happening though. I didn't really mention it earlier, but the 3 wives were located and they were released when they went underground. And during this time, they're trying to help in the background, but they're not powerful like demon slayers. They're just assisting their husband because he's got 3 wives, which is just wild. But he's flashy, so who cares? We get some backstory with them, which is fun because we're barely introduced to these 3 women, and so we get something to kind of give it some gravity on what the stakes are for Tengen, which I appreciate. The show's really good at not wasting time. There's no like time like where we're like, okay, what's good? Like they're always like, okay, well these characters just showed up, but here's why they're important. This is why you should like them, and they nail with that. So yeah, we get some flashbacks with that, which adds weight to it because there's a couple moments where one of the wives they're all trying to help, but one of them trying to get involved and help Tengen while the other 2 are trying to evacuate people. Yeah. Which at first I was like, well, you got to evacuate like everybody, but yeah, you got to evacuate everybody because everything just gets decimated. It's like a nuke goes off in this place. Yeah. I wasn't ready for that. I was like, you got to get rid of it. Like it's like a block. Just get rid of like those people. But yeah, they're trying to get everybody out. So that's happening. I can't remember the wives' names, but one of them helps by shooting these like
kunai,
yeah, that have
Wisteria.
Yeah, which essentially only slows this dude down for a little bit, but it's helpful.
It works on him, but it doesn't immobilize him. He just can't regenerate.
Yeah, which comes into play later when he gets stabbed again, and he's just like trying to get it out of him because like it's obviously affecting him. But yeah, fight goes crazy. A lot of really cool stuff happens. A lot of really cool creativity. It's neat to see Inosuke and Zenitsu working together in combat. We saw a lot from Zenitsu in terms of him being like, I mean, he's asleep, but he's essentially his alter personality is happening in a way that's not brief. He's like there working with Inosuke on this fight, which was really interesting.
Yeah, it's super welcome too, because in Mugen Train he's like barely involved. So
yeah, I feel like everybody got a lot of screen time in this.
Well, the fight was long, so yeah.
Which is really cool. Fight goes crazy though. Eventually they concoct a plan. Inosuke flies in and goes to behead her. That doesn't work as well as he would have liked, so he starts sawing her head off.
Yeah.
Which was wild. I was like, well, that'll work. And I was wondering too, like, he's got saw blades, like, start sawing some things. He did. So
yeah,
that was pretty crazy. And then their whole plan is to keep the head away until they can behead the other guy. Inosuke grabs the head, runs. They play around with the idea of killing him off, which for a split second I'm like, holy shit, dude, you can't just kill him off. But I'm like, there's no fucking way. While he's running away, Gyutaro, being a really powerful dude, just kind of shows up and just blasts his fucking arm through him. And no, not his arm, his sickle, through him. And I was getting confused with the Kaza fucking and Rengoku.
Oh yeah.
So he does that. It plays off like they killed him. A lot of shit happens in that moment where everything's getting decimated. I forgot what happened to Tanjiro because he wakes up.
Can't remember why he got knocked out, but he was pretty much out of commission for a little bit, and then when he kind of comes to, he notices Tenga's arm is now gone, and
it's fucked. Like, he wakes up and like Tengen's arm's fucked, and like he's like dying essentially, just like blood everywhere. Zenitsu's like in rubble,
trap,
and the dude's just talking about how he's just gonna let him die in there. I'm like, that's fucked up. Just go kill him. And then it shows Inosuke all fucked up, and he's like, yeah, he's dead. I'm like, no way, he's not.
There's blood coming out of his fake nostrils.
Yeah, that was almost disturbing. How much blood's just coming out of him, but he's like, I am flexible, blah, blah, blah. Like, fucking, he doesn't care. And it's also worth mentioning, too, for a while there, Tengen had been stabbed with a sickle, and the poison was in him, but he was essentially...
He's shinobi, so he's had poison training.
He has all this resistance, but it was still... You could see it was affecting him over time and stuff. That came into play. But we go through this like really long, really uncomfortable sequence of this dude fucking with Tanjiro, and it's really intense because like Tanjiro comes off as like fairly pathetic in this because he's been through a lot. Everyone around him is essentially dead in his mind, and
fighting forever.
At this point, he's trying to like just protect his sister, but he's like he can't, and like Gyutaro like just destroys his hand, just breaks it.
To his fingers. Yeah.
He's like trying to tell him you can just be a demon.
Because he sympathizes with him for being pathetic and also protecting a sibling.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like I said, I was going to go short on this recap, but I'm just like reliving everything. Anyway, the fight ends up turning into, people aren't actually dead. They rejoin the fight. It gets intense again. It gets crazy once Tengen gets back in. Eventually they're able to get their heads off. One thing I appreciated about it is the dynamic between the brother and sister gets fleshed out in a flashback that I thought was kind of fucked for them. It doesn't make everything they've done right, but it makes you understand.
Yeah.
But it makes you understand how horrible their circumstances were before that would create these personalities and have become enhanced by being demons. Especially Gyutaro's whole origin story is like really fucked up. He's just trying to look out for his sister, which I think
his mom tried to kill him like multiple times.
Yeah, and he was just always ugly. So people, because he's like malnourished and abused and stuff like that, and so he has this deep guttural, almost sociopathic view on people because he's not connected to them. He's always been rejected by
never
people.
Existed.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's easy for him to become like this evil dude because there's no humanity ever received, and he only cares about taking care of his sister, who's obviously viewed as like this pretty girl, a prize, something worth protecting. So the scene too where they're deteriorating is like had a lot of gravity for me watching that, because establishing his origin story and that even though they're both evil, they still only had to have each other, and having Tanjiro resonate with like, you guys got to make up because like you only have each other type thing, and that whole scene
no
where
one
they're
will
like,
forgive you. You only have each other.
exactly, and when they go into like kind of the afterlife, wherever they're heading, which seems to be like hell, they decide to go together, and I was like, whoo, that's deep.
Yeah.
That was well done. I really they did such a better job with like the demons in this part of the season. I really enjoyed the arc and the demons and the fights, everything like that. Yeah, so earlier, though, it was kind of humored that Tengen kind of wanted to retire from this. And after losing a limb, and doesn't his eye get taken out? I can't remember. I could have swore he lost something else, too. Do you remember?
I just remember the arm.
Yeah. It kind of allows him to, like, outside of, he already wanted to retire. He wanted to leave and do his whole, like, him and his wife shinobi thing. And not hunt demons anymore, kind of allows him to do that.
Yeah.
One of the other demon hunters show up, the guy with the snake, and he's not pleased with that, but I can't really get a reading on that guy. I would like to see his dynamic later when it comes to hunting demons, because he just seems kind of adversarial. I'm like, why are you a demon hunter?
Yeah.
There's like him and like two other dudes. I'm like, are you guys like gonna be? Is this Bleach where like half of the squad are all like the bad guys? Anyone with the fox face or whatever? You guys are obviously the villains.
It's 3 out of 13. It's not half.
Something. It's been a while since I've seen Bleach.
I'm rewatching it right
Yeah,
now.
I will say it's a lot more fresh for you. So it was really interesting to see kind of his retirement, and I think it's interesting too because I can't remember the name, but like the leader, the guy who's running the whole Demon Slayer Corp.
Oh, yeah.
He gets word that they took out one of the upper six or whatever, and he sees it as like hope, like, oh,
Yeah,
we
he's
can do
super
this.
emotional about
Yeah. I also loved the whole thing where he was talking to Tengen about him retiring or whatever, and saying so blah 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 blah, and he's talking about how Tanjiro has potential to not replace him, but they're down Rengoku, now he's leaving, but there's like a new breed, a new group of.
Well, it's like the second time in the show as well where they've mentioned the youth is just not up to snuff.
Yeah,
and they're dying faster than they can get stronger.
Yeah, it's this season made it feel really. Before it was like, oh, there's demons, they're rare.
You kind of get a hint of it with the spiders.
At night, they come out and eat people, and there's some secret society of people who go around and kill these demons off or whatever. But almost like it's like Men in Black or something. It's like this thing, but now it almost feels like there's a war happening. And the Demon Slayers have been doing their job, but they've been getting thinned out because the demons have become too powerful. And now it seems like there's like in this season it kind of shows that there's a shift happening finally, and it's really solidified when that leader guy is like talking about like, oh, we're making progress,
win.
Something's happening. Yeah.
I think it's also like too humans can only breed so fast, and they got to get stronger through their means versus like a demon just goes like a zombie. Oh, there's a new demon.
Yeah, they can replicate them, but then when they consume people, they get more powerful. So the longer they're around, the more powerful they become.
Especially
so a
if
lot
you
of
get
those lower
resistance
guys, yeah, exactly. Which I'm sure he has to be a little selective about, because you can't just make everybody super powerful. So,
Right.
because then you might get a mutiny or something. Which I could totally see happening, because doesn't seem like there's any honor amongst demons. So, but yeah, I think that's basically all the key points to it. They beat the demons, but the whole entertainment district just is a huge hole in the ground. It's just this apocalyptic scenario. Like, I just looked at them like, holy shit, that's like crazy. Everything's rubble.
The only person who's okay is Nezuko. Everyone else is fucked up.
But yeah, there's something else I was going to touch on. So yeah, that's pretty much what happens, and it ends with a win, but at a cost. And one thing that the first thing I thought of is like, they did take out one of the six, which is really cool. I'm sure they could just enter another one in there if they wanted to, though. But the thing that resonated with me after season 2 completed is Rengoku's dead. He was obviously a powerful asset for them, but they're down a dude. Now they're down a second guy. So the Hashira are being thinned out now. They got one win, but they've lost 2 dudes doing it.
Yeah.
And so it kind of, there's still people left, but it's not a good thing. It's not a good sign. They won the battle, but they lost people doing it. And then obviously we got to wait for, Tanjiro and his group to get trained up to start, being able to help with that. But it's a really interesting dynamic to kind of see unfold over just 2 seasons, really. I mean, like, I feel like so much has been added, so much gravity has been added to the story in such a small time that it's got me really curious about the future.
Yeah, I don't imagine we have too many seasons left either, because I think the manga ended.
Really?
Yeah.
I was wondering about that because I feel like this story could be finished fairly quickly. I feel like you could tell a story because they're kind of keeping things limited. We know who Muzan is. We know Kibutsuji Muzan, yeah. We know essentially his generals. The underlings don't matter anymore. They're just cannon fodder. And we have a limited amount of Hashiras, and they only have so many people who are going to be able to replace them. So unless, it pulls like an old school anime and it's like, you thought that was powerful, but there's a whole new group of things that's more powerful. It does seem a little more compact in what they're offering story-wise. Especially watching this season, I'm like, if fights are like going to be like that, I don't know where they're going to go with this. Not complaining. I loved it.
I'm sure they sell plenty of merch.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, overall, this was really good. This is a really good season. I know I've been just kind of saying, every season I'm like, this is really good, this is really good, but it got better, which is really good to see. I can officially say I'm a fan of Demon Slayer at this point. I'm definitely invested. I'm really excited for season 3. Whereas I think Mugen Train had a really powerful central thing that happened with Rengoku. I think it was pivotal for Tanjiro as a character. It also kind of resonates with the Hashira, which I think has been interesting that they're even talking about it. Season 2, I think, has been, or Entertainment District has been, and it should be, the biggest thing that's happened in the show so far. Which, I was deceived. I was like, well, they're going to go to the Entertainment District, kill Demon, be done with it. But I feel like a lot happened in this small amount of time. For character development, for showing the stakes and what can be lost and what can be gained, and just what the animators are willing to do, animation-wise. Because I was like really blown away by some of a lot of the scenes that happened. I'm also really happy with how they handled every character in this season. I don't feel like anyone was left out. I feel like they all got more fleshed out than they ever have been.
Yeah.
We're seeing more from Inosuke as like a team-oriented player now. Zenitsu is becoming more reliable. I mean, he has to have the caveat of falling asleep, but once he does, it seems like he's much more effective now. It was only hinted at in Mugen Train, but we saw it here.
It's like that personality is conscious now.
Yeah.
Even
though it's an alter ego.
Even though he's not conscious. Mm-hmm. So that'll be interesting.
It's like a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde thing.
Yeah, and I'm hoping that we'll see that merge, because if he just has to fall asleep every time,
once he conquers his fear and his like self-indulgent, everything's bad's happening to me. Once he conquers that, he will just become that.
Yeah.
That's him without that.
Yeah.
So he just has to be, his ego's got to be gone by falling asleep. So, and I think that is being bridged, because now that we're seeing him more competent and confident and not just going in little bursts of doing a quick, boom, kill a guy and then wake up and freak out. He's like actively participating in long bouts of combat. We are seeing that evolution, which is really important for me in an anime. I got to see evolution of characters. They can't just be the same thing over and over and over again. And Tanjiro's constantly just being tortured into becoming a stronger person. Whether people are in his dreams, making him look at his family die and, making him feel horrible about that, or actually just torturing him and breaking his hand and telling him everyone that he cares about is dead. He's going through a lot. He also broke some blood vessels in his eyes, which is really fucking disturbing.
Because how pissed he got.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's his Super Saiyan, but that was really crazy to watch.
I think it's because he was holding his breath the whole time.
Yeah, that would make sense.
Because when he was doing the fire breathing,
I mean, he's always trying to control his breathing nonstop.
Well, he was able to do that fire breathing for so long and with all that power, but he wasn't breathing the whole time. And then that's why, like, you know, he faltered finally at the end because his body, like, he had a voice in his head. I think it was Nezuko's voice, basically, like, you need to breathe.
Yeah.
And he was like,
everybody's telling him that, dude. Fucking that scene where he was, like, poisoned was disturbing as fuck.
You mean when he got the sickle in his fucking jaw?
Yeah. Yeah, dude. Like, I'm just like, dude, they're willing to, like, throw a sickle through, like, the main character's face.
Yeah.
And he's getting poisoned. He's sitting there, like barely there. He can barely hear Tengen, like, yelling at him like he's got to run because, like, that dude was doing his move when he got beheaded.
Yeah.
God, the whole season was good, but, like, the last, like, 5 episodes were just nonstop, just like shit's going down, dude. There's no rest. Which I loved. I mean, it feels like there's stakes. I knew they weren't going to kill off Inosuke, but they sure as hell sold it really well because I was like, that's disturbing.
They still fucked him up.
Yeah, for sure. I'm glad they're able to do that. But yeah, all in all, really, really good season. It's hard for me to say because I think Mugen Train was really good too, but this just felt like a much more fleshed out story arc. And the evolution for the characters, everything.
Almost twice as long.
Yeah, exactly. But it just felt super confident what they're trying to do. And then the animation was just fucking amazing. The fight scenes were awesome. Some of the best fight scenes I've seen in an anime in a long time. And I just loved the mix of Gyutaro and Tengen fighting because, like, they were just perfect for how flashy that fight was. I mean, super flashy. With what they did with it, and it was just awesome to watch. What else? Stakes were there, emotions were there. Nezuko becoming a factor of, like, she's got this crazy potential, but it's the Hulk essentially.
Well,
like
her being a demon for once,
yeah,
like actually being one.
Yeah, she busted the thing out. She was going
like just toying with the other girl.
Yeah,
that was kind of gross.
It's dope. I loved it.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of really cool stuff here. But I'm just kind of gushing. What are your overall impressions? I mean, you've already seen this before. It's my first time.
You know, like the name states, you know, animation. This is like pretty much the one of the peak eye candies you can watch. There's others out there, obviously, and you know, I've seen, you know, the next one we're gonna watch, I feel, is one of those. But also one I haven't seen, I have suggested for both of us to watch. Like Your Name is a good example.
Mm-hmm.
It's supposed to be really beautiful.
Yeah, I've been wanting to watch that for a long time.
So yeah, this is why one of the main reasons I enjoy anime, besides the fact that, you know, they take this medium which is enjoyable to watch, and then you get these, like, really layered, you know, some although tropey characters, you know, when it comes to anime, and just really imaginative scenes and stuff, and this is just that. It's like everything I want about anime. Deepest story, no, but I don't think it's a bad story at all, and the characters are great. So
I saw somebody on Twitter saying that the animation in Demon Slayer is wasted on a mid story, and I was like,
I hear that a lot. Yeah,
I don't even think it's. I mean, it's pretty basic and straightforward, but I think the characters solidify the story. I mean, it is basic in the sense that, like, there's demons and demon slayers, and then there's this, you know, chosen one story essentially with Tanjiro, but, like, it's entertainment first off, which it nails.
Yeah,
and they're able to sell you characters that you care about. So yeah, I think that's a pretty shallow view on it, but I understand where they're coming from. I just don't agree with it.
Yeah, well, I think, without getting into generational talk too much, it's just really easy to. It's easier to have just a quick extreme take than have a longer nuanced conversation about it, and And does Demon Slayer have the best story ever? No. Does it have a good, competent story? Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Um,
When we first watched the first season, like 4 episodes into, I'm like, is this it? Like they're just like hunt demons? Like that's fun.
Yeah.
I can I can watch them and have fun with it, but
Well,
I think it's got a lot more gravity now.
and if you look at the overarching, like what the story, the grand story is, it's very simple.
Yep.
But when you look at the individual stories being told through individuals, it has a lot more depth in that regard. So it's more like, if you're into lore, I guess, would this be a good example? You probably appreciate a lot of this more because you're getting all these little tidbits of the world constantly. The story's the same, but you're getting a lot of depth on the sides while going on this journey. So
I think a lot would maybe be lost on the simplicity of the story if the characters weren't fleshed out. If Tanjiro wasn't constantly allowing us to have insight on where he's at and his struggle to become stronger and how much he cares about the other characters, stuff like that. If it was lacking that, I think a lot would be missed. But also, I think when they do humanize demons, especially in this season, I was like, ooh, that's fucking crazy. I think it adds a lot because I think a lot of like mid anime, like if it's just like entertainment value you're watching, it's like kind of fun but nothing like crazy. I think a lot of them don't do that. And so I think it does amplify and make it better than just like a okay anime. But I do agree when it comes to story, Berserk's still my favorite anime. And that has a lot of beats to it that I think a lot of animes don't have.
Well, that's a much deeper story for sure.
Yeah, 100%. But yeah, I don't know. I don't agree. I don't think it's that.
Yeah, I have a problem just in general with, especially what I've noticed, at least in the anime community side, on like to use TikTok as an example. It's either like your favorite and it's the best thing ever, and everything else
That's everything.
Is mid. As they like to keep
or
saying.
bad.
So. And
just like in gaming, it's the best game ever, and someone's like, I'm not really into it. They're like, what?
Yeah.
Or like, a game they don't like. That game sucks. That game sucks. It's just cheap. Like they're just trying to make money off of it.
Yeah,
and it's
for
like,
sure.
well, you just don't like it.
And
it's fine.
It's a bummer because I think there's a lot to enjoy, and you can like things for different reasons. And I do like. I think it's unquestionable that one of the best things to enjoy about anything UFO Table makes is animation is always top notch, and then that paired on likable characters with good backstories. I think it's a great time.
It just has the payoff you want. It has awesome fight scenes, has awesome just animation. Most times and it's in the fight scenes that they really show off though. But then it's got likable characters, and I really like the art style of the show. I think it has a really good, like, really vibrant, cartoony look, but also like details to it that doesn't look simple. Plus, they allow themselves to make their characters ugly, like with veins in their face and stuff, which I think is really interesting. And they allow people to get sickles through their mouth and stuff. It's not just getting beaten up.
I'm going to tell you, that's pretty much all shonen these days.
Yeah.
They'll beat the shit out of the characters. They're fine with it. So
yeah, I remember like the old school ones. It's just like, Dragon Ball Z. Get beat up. They got a black guy. They're in a hole, like, because they got punched into the ground.
Yeah,
that's about
you
it.
have your moments, like Piccolo's arms get ripped off, and even like I'm rewatching Bleach now, and like some of those people take some really gross cuts to the shoulders and stuff. So it's just not as detailed, as drawn as detailed,
but
right?
You gotta like, I mean, like if you're thinking about like how do you disarm the dude? You rip his arms off, and it's just like basic blood effects, which is an older anime, but like still premeditated that, or deep cuts or whatever. But to think like we're gonna take our main character, and his eyes are full of just blood because his blood vessels popped in there, and he's all fucked up, and his like hands been smashed, and his fingers are busted, and it's like swollen, and then we're gonna shove a sickle through his mouth. It's like it's a little intense.
Yeah, for sure. If we ever get a chance, if we get to it, and we can get to like My Hero, for example, it's not a huge priority for me, but if we do get there, that guy sustained some injuries too. So,
I feel like they had to up the ante though, because you already have all these like serialized shows that go on forever, where you watch the main character get their ass kicked, have an epiphany, get stronger, beat the villain, then again they fight somebody else, they get their ass kicked, they fall down, they have an epiphany, they get stronger,
I mean,
they keep fighting.
You're just saying the shonen formula.
Sure, exactly. But I'm saying they have to up the ante because like we've seen the dude get his ass kicked and he's just on the ground.
Yeah.
And even though Tanjiro is doing that, they're like, we got to really make it seem like, things are not good. Everybody's seen the main character get their ass kicked and get back up, but like let's put a sickle through his face.
Yeah.
So you can go, ooh, God. Or, let's actually kill off some characters. Let's actually like maim a character so he's doesn't have stuff anymore.
And I appreciate it because I mean, realistically, like at the end of the day, shonen is generally just, it's combat anime, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you're watching it because they're gonna fight. The story's just deepening that experience for you.
Well, yeah, you want your character to get more powerful and get new moves to fight strong enemies, but now that they've conquered that enemy, you have to introduce a new, stronger enemy. So yeah, it's very formulaic, but that's the thing I appreciate about Demon Slayer is I was fatigued of that a long time ago, and so to watch this and expect that, but then to get more out of it has been really enjoyable.
I think
for me.
we're in a good era right now.
It seems like it.
Yeah. But that being said, I love the show. I wouldn't have suggested it as like one of the top things to start with, though I do feel like maybe it was a little spoiling to start with this one because
I don't need the fantastic animation, but it's nice to see.
I will say if I was gonna keep on the track of animation, it'll definitely be I think Jujutsu Kaisen and then maybe Mob Psycho.
Because I'll take a great story over animation any day.
Yeah.
The original Berserk anime, the fight scenes are pretty basic. Sometimes it's just someone frozen in place. I mean, it's a 90s anime. Someone just in place going, and like next scene's like a still image and the guy's arms flying off.
I mean, Dragon Ball to this day, just because it's it's the style at this point, but I mean, it's just a bunch of recycled frames over and over.
Yeah,
and
just
over
repeating
again.
frames.
So,
Yeah. When I was watching some of the fight scenes in this season, I just like was thinking back to the old days of people just teleporting around and punching over and over again, and in this like you're actually seeing people moving and doing stuff like super fast. It's like
there's a couple moments where they did the recycle, like when they were both just swinging at each other when it was being viewed from above.
But it's brief.
It is.
It's
right.
like real quick. It's
not
awesome
the whole
looking.
fight.
There's even a lot of scenes where it's just lights you could see, and
Yeah.
but it's still dope looking because of how far animations come.
Yeah, one it was like through the fog, right?
Yeah.
So like, yeah,
It's dope. We don't need to see it. We know they're still fighting.
Yeah.
But it was a cool
The
visual.
implication was good.
Yeah.
So, anyways, yeah, I had a good time with it. I think it's probably the best arc in the anime.
Yeah. I agree with that.
It has the best storytelling, in my opinion, outside of the introduction in the beginning of the show. Mugen Train was fine, but story was definitely, I think, the weakest part of Mugen Train. I think the character development and and Rengoku himself are kind of the peak part of Mugen Train.
Well, it's like the first season is just like the introduction you need for the world, for the characters, how the Demon Slayer Corp works, the hierarchy of that, and also introducing that there's a hierarchy of demons. It's almost introducing the factions. And then Mugen Train's like a lesson. They get sent on a mission, and they find out what the stakes are, and that people can just get eliminated. It's like a lesson for Tanjiro, but for everybody. Whereas this feels like almost like we gotta get these boys ready to be Hashira, because like you guys have seen the stakes and it's not getting easier. We need you guys to power up essentially, which we saw especially in the middle of this season with Tanjiro holding his own. At first, when he thought he couldn't do it, he started doing it.
Yeah, well, and one thing I actually really appreciate about his growth in this, specifically his battle, was he got to the point where he always gets, where he's tired and exhausted, and this time that wasn't an excuse. You don't get to stop.
Yeah.
To stop his death.
Yeah, that's the thing too they keep playing with, is like he's been kind of saying that the whole time, but we've seen a lot of moments where he's kind of out, and he's thinking like, I gotta get up, blah blah blah. That happened a couple times here, but like, there's a lot of moments where like I thought he was gonna start doing that, but he's like, I don't have an option.
Yeah.
I have to keep going.
Even if it destroys me, I have to go.
Yeah. Yeah, there's almost a self-destructive element that wasn't in the prior seasons to him. Like, it's all or nothing. Like, if I don't do... Because he's seen Rengoku dead
I would
now.
say that was definitely the
that,
catalyst
like,
of that mentality.
That, like, if he doesn't, he's just going to die, and everyone's going to die. So, like, he has to just fight no matter what. And that's something Rengoku kind of did. He showed him, essentially. So you are seeing that lesson actualized, which is... a slight evolution, but it's evolution, and that's what I appreciate about it. It's not just the same thing over and over again. It's the same mentality, but it's evolving into something that eventually will lead Tanjiro to be, the powerful Hashira that he's going to be.
When him learning through experience, like that, the water form for him is easier to manage and is better for like defense and stuff. And so like maybe not just constantly having the gas at full all the time and maybe switching it up. And he's like, well, maybe this is how the forms were designed in the beginning was trial and error, basically. So, and I like that because like, obviously, most anime has their training arcs usually, but in this case, like there's not really a training arc. There's like a little montage of them working out and practicing.
In season 1 there was like a legit like 3-episode training arc that happened, and I was like, how many times are we gonna have to see this? Because I remember an older anime that was like a thing. I'm like, I get it, you want them to do better, but when you rewatch it, those are the most boring parts. But this is mixing a lot of that training arc into the combat. There's a lot of internal dialogue on like people kind of studying what people are doing, what they're doing, kind of like, I gotta control my breathing and change this up.
Well, having to learn through experience,
Exactly, which I like.
Yeah, and I liked it a lot too. I think it's a good way of handling power scaling as well. I think a lot of anime is getting better at that because, I mean, we all remember the days of it's over 9,000, right?
Yep.
So...
or someone just goes off and puts himself in a chamber and it just kind of like...
Yeah, and don't get me wrong.
Levels them up.
I like that too, but...
it worked for the time.
Yeah. I mean, in all fairness, I watch some pretty trashy animes and be okay with it, though, so... But, yeah, I mean, overall, I had a good time, so...
Yeah. So, yeah, I agree. This is the best season I've seen so far. I'm really excited to see season 3 at this point. I really like where the show's at. It surprises me when I feel like it shouldn't because it is formulaic, but I am constantly going like, oh, that's cool. I didn't think that was going to be a thing. And it's hitting all the major beats I need. It's got characters I like. It's got amazing combat, and it's got a really good soundtrack. I've barely even talked about that, but there's some songs that when they hit. I like where the story's going. Yeah. So, and again, the stakes. I mean, that's one of the biggest things. If you're gonna have like a big epic story, there's got to be a loss. Otherwise, it just feels like I'm watching a Marvel movie, and that's just like whatever. So yeah, really good, and can't wait for season 3. So let's jump into grades. I'm gonna give this an easy A. I really like it a lot. There's nothing negative about this season. I thought it was really good. Everything was top notch. The reason it's not going A+ is because the story's really good, but it's not like amazing. It didn't like blow me away. I'm not like sitting there still thinking about it like in like a deep, meaningful way. But I think it would be hard pressed to find a more high quality anime than this. That I'm resonating with the characters and stuff too. It's just a really charming show so far, a story, and just awesome combat that I'm really liking. Super creative, and an easy A. I really loved it.
Yeah, I mean, I pretty much mirror that. It's an easy A for sure. Mm-hmm. The fact that just to go back to the animation thing real fast, that they don't just save that for like a big moment in a fight. It's like throughout the whole fight, like when they're discussing how they're gonna get to her head while they're like literally talking and like pairing the ribbons, and they're going under and behind them the whole time, and I was just like, this is unnecessary and super appreciated. So you're not gonna find a lot of people. There are more and more lately, which is great, but you're not going to find a lot of studios willing to put that much effort in. So,
yeah, I agree. All right, well, that's the review. Demon Slayer's going good. I'm all caught up, so I am finally
Ready for winter.
Ready for winter. Winter's coming. I'm very ready for it, and I'm really enjoying it. I'm excited to start another anime, which we'll be watching and reviewing soon as well. And we got a lot of animes coming that I'm stoked to watch. So let us know in the comments what you guys think of Season 2 of Demon Slayer Entertainment District Arc. It's hard to almost say that for some reason. What'd you like about it? What didn't you like about it? You probably didn't dislike anything about it. If you did, let me know. Let's have a conversation about it. And are you excited for Season 3? What anime are you excited for in the winter? And yeah, let me know everything you're thinking about. But yeah, I've been Seth. This has been Chevy. Stay tuned. We'll have more stuff coming out. Check out my weekly gaming podcast, Tasty Loot Gaming's link down below. We do episodes over there about video games. And until the next episode, have a good one.